Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, bonjour, buongiorno, bon dia, buenos dias, guten morgen, Ohio gozaimasu. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, you are watching Steffi's Talk Show. I'm Steph, welcome. Today, in our special subject, preserving wealth isn't just for the extra rich. It's something we all need to think about, from inflation and market volatility to global instability. More people are turning to tangible, time-tested assets like gold and precious metals. But how do you invest wisely and, more importantly, keep those assets safe? Today, we are joined by Jeremy Varlow from SWP Cayman, Strategic Wealth Preservation, an international leader in secure offshore storage for precious metal. Jeremy, did I say it well?
You did. I wish I knew as many greetings in other languages as you do. I'm sorry that I don't, but hello, everyone, and it's a pleasure to be here.
That's years of practice, I can tell you this. But yes, thank you very much for joining me today to my talk show. I was waiting for this, to be honest, because it's quite interesting. I'm pretty sure that I will be learning a lot today, just like the people who are going to watch this video. I'm pretty sure about wealth preservation, gold, precious metal, etc. But Jeremy, just go ahead. Can you briefly introduce yourself and tell us about your role at SWP Cayman?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Stephanie. So my name's Jeremy. I work for Strategic Wealth Preservation. We are a precious metals dealer and storage facility based in the Cayman Islands. I work with our clients. I am an account representative, so I deal with clients on a one-to-one basis, helping them purchase and store precious metals in any of our global facilities. I also operate our sister company, which is called SWP Capital, that allows clients to borrow against their stored assets as well. That's basically what I do with the company. Keeps me quite busy.
Okay, so for those who may not know, what is SWP Cayman and what services do you provide?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we're a global dealership and storage facility. So we're headquartered here. I'm in our Cayman Islands vault at the moment in our client viewing room, but we do operate 12 global storage locations. Clients can set up an account with SWP and purchase and store gold in any of those 12 locations globally. We provide dealership options, so you purchase through us, you store in our facilities. This vault that I'm in is wholly owned and operated by SWP. The other facilities globally are space that we rent in, like a Loomis vault or a Brinks vault. It's quite rare for a precious metals dealer to also own their own vault. It's quite an expensive undertaking to build your own vault. It takes a lot to manage a vault as well. But we saw an opening in the Cayman Islands. Obviously, we are one of the largest offshore finance jurisdictions in the world. There had never been a precious metals vault in the Cayman Islands, and we wanted.
Oh, really?
We thought that was a huge opportunity because the biggest offshore jurisdictions for precious metals are Switzerland and Singapore. The fact that there was no option in the Cayman Islands, we thought was just a huge opportunity to put the Cayman Islands further on the map as one of the largest financial centers in the world.
That's exciting. I didn't know that. I thought there were actually a lot, already maybe some competition in Cayman Island for you. So
no, and there are maybe one or two banks where, clients of the bank can purchase metals and store them in safe deposit boxes, but it's a fraction of what we do. And it is quite shocking that there had never been a place to buy and store gold in the Cayman Islands other than SWP.
Yeah, it is. Okay. Tell us why do people invest in gold and other precious metal in the first place?
Yeah, I think historically, and I'm talking about gold primarily, but silver kind of plays into this as well. Gold's a time-tested store of value. You know, it helps protect against external factors, you know, economic factors like inflation, currency devaluation, and, you know, what we're seeing more of nowadays, geopolitical instability. It's kind of your rainy day fund, so to speak. And I was actually just chatting to a client earlier today who was saying, you know, they hold the majority of their, you know, non, stock
Yes.
or, well, you know, the typical investments, their savings in precious metals, and they treat that as their bank, so to speak. They have, you know, obviously their, you know, 3 to 6 months of living expenses in their bank account, but the majority of their savings are in precious metals to protect against that currency devaluation and inflation. Because let's be honest, you know, you hold a bunch of funds with the bank, you're getting a fraction of a percent annually in interest, which is absolutely ridiculous. By holding it in metals, you're outpacing inflation and you know, holding an asset that tends to hold its value better than holding a currency would.
Okay. So let's get a little bit deeper into the subject. So what are the main type of precious metals that investors typically consider? Gold, silver, platinum, etc. And how do they differ?
Yeah, so I mean, gold is always, you know, the most popular investment. Historically speaking, the the typical portfolio will have, you know, 80% gold, 20% silver. Now that varies very wildly, you know, from client to client. Some clients, you know, want to hold more silver, for example. They look at what's happened in the gold price versus what's happened in the silver price the last couple of years. We refer it as to something called the gold-silver ratio. So that is the number of ounces of silver it would take to buy 1 ounce of gold. Historically, that had always been about 50 to 60 ounces of silver to 1 ounce of gold. Gold has obviously appreciated quite a bit over the last 2 years, and that ratio is much higher now, where it had been, you know, over 100, which it had never been before, just a couple of months ago. So a lot of people think that, you know, in the near term, silver is a great investment because it's got to get back to that 50 to 60 range. So we've seen, you know, in recent weeks and months, many people buying more silver versus gold, expecting silver to appreciate very quickly. Now, that's anyone's best guess. Some people think that it is simply just a repricing of the value of gold, and that maybe the new normal is a 90 to 100 ratio between silver to gold. But typically speaking, gold is the most popular investment. We see it, you know, on a daily basis. You know, people buy more gold than silver. And those tend
Like
to
in
be,
percentage, what does it look like in percentage? Like gold is 70% or
I'd say probably the average nowadays is, you know, 70% gold, 30% silver. You know, people want to buy something that they buy it, it goes into a bin in the vault, and they can forget about it. They might check, you know, monthly when they get their statement from SWP, and they go, oh, okay, this is, you know, how my investment's done this month. It's not the same as your stock portfolio where you're going onto your brokerage, you know, every morning and checking what your stock portfolio is doing, because typically the prices of metals don't move, you know, multiple percents in a day. You know, gold's up today
yeah.
1.5%, which, you know, is $50 an ounce, which is a great, you know, a great move for gold on the day. But when you think about percentage wise, 1.5% is not a huge daily swing. The other, you know, metals that we work with, platinum and palladium, they're a little bit, you know, we don't see as much interest in the two. They have done very well over the last couple of weeks. But for example, I mean, in the last 2 years, platinum and palladium have both kind of ranged in between $900 to $1,100 per ounce. They're a little bit more volatile, and they tend to be more of a a trader's metal where you can play the big price swings. You have to be a little bit more active in those markets, whereas gold and silver, you can just, buy, sit back, relax, open a glass of wine or a bottle of wine or open a beer and just, and chill out.
Okay, so let's focus a little bit on how does investing in physical metals compare to investing in mining stock or digital gold, for example. How does investing in physical metal it is compared to to others?
Yeah, when you're investing in the physical metals, obviously you have direct ownership of that asset.
Okay.
When a client comes to us and purchases an ounce of gold, that ounce of gold is their property. It goes into a bin in our vault, which is just behind me here, with their account number on it. It is segregated from all of our other clients' assets. So if you went into our vault, you would see multiple, hundreds or thousands of bins that have a single account number on it. There are no other clients' assets that are in that bin, so they're fully segregated, fully allocated to that client, and fully insured. When you're talking about, ETFs or digital gold, they have their place in this market. The first reason for that being it is an easier trade to get in and out of. So if you're looking to play, be a little bit more of an active trader and play the daily swings in precious metals, then you might look to something like an ETF that is based on the current spot price of the metal in question. So, today you want to buy an ETF thinking that the spot price of gold is going to increase in the next 3 or 4 days. You buy the ETF and then you can sell it later this week. You can do the same with metals that you hold with us. You can buy today and sell on Friday. However, the difference is when you buy the physical metal, you are also paying a premium above and below that spot price when you go to buy and sell. And that's why, those that purchase and invest in precious metals, the physical asset, tend to hold them for longer periods of time because of those premiums, and they have the asset in their hand. They want to keep it and hold on to it. With ETFs, for example, you can purchase ETFs and have a claim to the equivalent amount of the metal. So if you buy 10 ounces of gold in an ETF, you may very well be able to cash those in for the physical further down the line. But at that point, you might as well just buy the actual physical metal as well.
Okay. So is now a good time to be thinking about wealth preservation through metals? What are the market signals you watch?
Yeah, of course. It's an interesting industry to be in because precious metals do well when there, are warning signs, economically, geopolitically, when there is conflict or, stresses in the market. Tends to be a good time to invest in precious metals. Anytime's a good time to invest in precious metals, but what we've seen over the last 2 years, for example, are people coming into the metals market because of these warning signs that they're seeing. The first thing that, we look at when assessing the landscape for the metals market is what's happening macroeconomically and what's happening geopolitically.
Yeah.
Now, macroeconomically, inflation has been very high for a couple of years now. Interest rates have also been very high, which is interesting because typically high interest rates are not a good thing for the price of metals. The reason for that being, there are other investments that yield high returns that are also considered, safe haven investments. U.S. Treasury bonds, T-bills, for example, are paying high returns, and you can, easily buy and sell those on the open market daily. So it's actually been quite interesting that metals prices have done so well, but it's because there are so many other factors at play. We have wars in multiple regions of the world at the moment. Like I mentioned, you've got high inflation. At the moment, we have the U.S. Administration placing tariffs on multiple trading partners around the world. So there's all of this instability and economic uncertainty, geopolitical strife going on that, I think is bringing gold back into the forefront as an investment, where people want, a physical asset that doesn't, that isn't at risk in situations like this. And the other point to make, and something that we've seen a lot over the last 2 years, is what central banks are doing. Now, the world's largest central banks, India, China, Russia as well, they're buying gold at record levels. And when that starts to happen, it tends to be a, where there's smoke, there's fire situation. And in some cases, these countries are looking to de-dollarize. They're looking to reduce their exposure to the U.S. dollar and move away from it. So that's certainly one reason for that. But it also just, kind of points to a general distrust in what's going on globally. So when we see central banks buying as much gold as they're buying, it kind of lends its hand to like, this is something worth looking at for the average investor.
Yes, exactly. Totally agree. Earlier, you said, you explained why you are based in the Cayman Island. So, but what makes the Cayman Island a strategic or attractive location for wealth preservation?
Yeah, like I mentioned, it's one of the largest offshore financial jurisdictions in the world. It offers multiple layers of protection, privacy, independence, from your home jurisdiction, so to speak. It is a very neutral country. We, excuse me, we are. We're Switzerland of the West, we like to say. We don't we don't get involved in any of the politics. We're a very friendly country to do business in. Some of the largest companies in the world are registered here in the Cayman Islands and do business within the Cayman Islands. There are very stringent regulatory requirements to do so. It's got a bustling finance and legal system here. We have some of the largest banks and law firms in the world are headquartered here as well. It's also, a very modern island. It's incredibly safe. Quality of life is super, super high. And it's obviously in paradise, year round. We've got, the beaches and warm weather as well.
Okay. Does the majority of your clients are from the island, or I guess they're mostly international? Huh?
Yeah, the majority of our clients are global. We do have, a local client base here as well, but the majority of our clients would be from the Americas, predominantly North America. And I think the reason for that being, like I mentioned, the biggest offshore locations for precious metal storage in the past had been Switzerland and Singapore, and they still are. We saw an opportunity here in the Cayman Islands to build a facility for, where there hadn't been one previously, that can service those North American clients who want to store their metals offshore, but somewhere close to home. So you can jump on a plane from New York, from JFK, and be in the Cayman Islands in 3 hours. From Miami, it's 55 minutes. It was something that we thought was a huge, huge opportunity, and it's one that we see we've been right on, because we've done quite well over the years and established our name as one of the bigger offshore players in the metals market now.
Yeah, and I think Americans as well may be more comfortable or used to, I think, the whole process of actually storing gold. But just tell us, can you walk us through actually the typical process of acquiring and storing gold with SWP Cayman?
Right. Super simple. You can go to our website and open an account. Steph, you can provide the link. But opening an account takes 15 to 20 minutes. It's a simple application form. We do some very light KYC on our clients. So we ask for a copy of a piece of ID and a proof of residential address. Once that account application is submitted, we do offer 3 different application types. So an individual account if you want to sign up under your name, a business account if you have an entity that you want to register for an account, or a trust if you have a family trust, for example, that you want to purchase precious metals through. Once you submit that application, it takes about 24 hours for approval. You will then be contacted by one of our sales representatives, might even be me, for example, and walked through the next steps. There's a storage agreement to sign, and then you're on your way to purchasing precious metals with us.
Okay, so you do make some background checks. I would say what is the typical profile that can be refused, for example, or what?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we do the KYC that is required of us by the Cayman Islands government. And I should say that we're also a non-financial entity, so we don't do any reporting to any governments or agencies about our clients or their holdings.
Okay.
We do encourage all of our clients to know their own reporting requirements, but when we do that KYC, we're not sharing it with any outside entity. It's a criminal background check. Make sure that anyone isn't on any, Interpol list for, financial crimes or otherwise. Just making sure that we're dealing with, people that are here for the right reasons.
Okay, so how secure is the facility exactly, and what kind of access or transparency do clients have to their holdings?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, security is paramount in an industry like this. Just behind me on the other side of the wall here is our Class 3 UL rated vault. That's the highest vault rating that you can possibly get. And we built this facility with our insurer, Lloyd's of London. They came down and they advised on, what they needed to see to be able to insure everything behind that wall to 100% of its replacement value. We also had our industry peers from Brinks and Loomis come down, so 2 of the bigger vault providers in the world. And we took their advice and we built above and beyond those recommendations, because we figured, you're building a vault from the ground up, you might as well do it, the best you possibly can. So, for example, we've double poured the amount of concrete that's required. So, and that's, more towards the hurricane rating, because we're in an active hurricane zone here in the Cayman Islands. We wanted to make sure that this place was built as robust as possible. So we've got, double poured concrete, twice the amount of rebar in that concrete that is required. We've got ballistic rated windows, both exterior windows and interior. We've got and there are no guns in the Cayman Islands. Some of there is a firearms unit with the Royal Cayman Police Service, but otherwise you can't get a gun here in the Cayman Islands. But
no guns in Cayman Islands.
That is correct. But we still,
if I come from another country, I cannot enter the country with a gun.
There have been people that have gotten in trouble coming into the island there was a gentleman, I think an American citizen, who traveled here and he had like a shell casing in his backpack that he forgot to take out, and he was actually detained for a day or two while they basically figured out.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I mean, they take it very, very seriously, and it is a very safe island. So, historically, there has not been a need for, even the police. If you walk past a policeman on the street, he's not carrying a gun.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's quite safe, but still, the windows are ballistic rated just in case. As a measure, there are multiple what we call man traps throughout the facility. So if I enter one door, I cannot enter the next door until the one behind me closes. Biometric scanning, so I have to use my finger to access certain areas of the office. We have a metal detector when you first come through. So when I leave every day, I have to pass through the metal detector. And I mean, I wear a gold bracelet, a gold necklace. The metal detector knows on average how much gold is on my body. If I was to slip a coin in my pocket, it would fail me saying there's more gold on this guy than usual. So, have a look at him. So So then the vault itself, I mean, is built to the highest industry standard. I mentioned that class 3 UL rated door. It's, like I said, the very, very, top of the line that you can possibly get.
Wow. Okay, that's good to know. Tell us about your clients. What type of clients typically use your services? Are they high net worth individuals, businesses, or even governments?
We service a wide range. Everyone from, somebody holding 2 ounces of gold all the way up to, 9 figures, multiple $100 million worth of metals, from retail investors to institutional investors as well. We, are happy to take any client that wants to sign up with us and do business with us, and everyone in between.
Okay. Do you see more people turning to metals as a hedge against inflation, geopolitical risk, or currency devaluation?
I mean, it's all of the above. I think especially in this day and age, there's so much going on in the world, and everyone just wants, from the clients that I speak to, they just are looking to have that little nest egg, that layer of security for their future, right? So it might not be your whole net worth, and it probably shouldn't be your whole net worth. But at least that, rainy day fund, the money that you've worked so hard to earn over time, protect part of that in metals. There's still a stock market out there. There's still other investment avenues for you to grow your wealth, but that protection side of things, that's, for when everything else hits the fan, you still have that nest to fall back on.
Okay, so let's dive a little bit into the education and myth of wealth preservation with precious metals. What are some common misconceptions about investing in precious metals?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the last few years, metals had kind of fallen out of the conversation. They thought most investors thought it was boring. They didn't even hear about gold. I mean, when I started working in this industry and told my friends that, I was selling precious metals, they were like jewelry, or what are you talking about? And I said, no, I work in a vault. And they were like, so like big gold bars, like they couldn't fathom, they didn't know that something like this, a 1 ounce gold coin, actually existed and that people buy it these days. People also think it's, expensive or only for the ultra wealthy. You think of, Scrooge McDuck from Looney Tunes diving into his pool full of coins. It's not that. Like I said, we have everyone from someone that just invests, has a couple of ounces of gold and above. It's for people that, are mindful of their future and that want to protect and store their wealth over a number of years.
Yeah, actually, that's why, I mean, even for me, it felt like it's kind of a very niche audience, I mean, niche clientele that you have.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's actually wide open for everybody. Yeah.
Very, very diverse.
Okay. So how liquid are these investments, and how easy is it to sell and access your funds in need, if needed?
Yeah, and I mean, like I said earlier, it is very liquid. Anything that, is in storage with us, you can sell back to us at any time. It's as simple as calling your account manager and saying, I want to sell 2 ounces of gold today. And I do have clients that, will sell a couple ounces every month, and that pays their living expenses, for example. They'll call me up on August 1st, say, I want to sell a couple ounces of gold. I provide them a quote right away. They say, okay, please go ahead. And to that end, if you go to our website and click on a particular product, say it's, this 1 ounce gold American Eagle, you can see both the purchase price and the sale price at the same time, so that, if you called me up and said, Jeremy, what's a gold American Eagle selling for? And I give you a number, you can see that the number on the website is the exact same. And once you say, yes, please sell that, the job's done. I execute that trade, and then I provide you a bank wire transfer form where you put in your bank details, and we send the funds to you.
All right. Okay, then you already mentioned it earlier, but let's just refresh people's mind a little bit. So if I'm someone watching this, I'm intrigued, and I want to move forward with SWP Cayman, what's the first step to start working with you?
Like I said, visit the website. Stephanie will provide the link to you. Click open an account and follow the steps there. Once submitted, accounts are typically open within 24 hours. It's super easy. You'll be contacted by your account manager. And additionally to that, any clients of SWP or prospective clients can visit the facility at any time. You just need to book an appointment a few days in advance, and you can come and tour our beautiful 6,000 square foot facility here in the Cayman Islands.
Okay, so people can just come and visit.
Correct. Yeah, our facility, I'm in the client viewing room right now. You can come and have a meeting with your client representative, or just tour the facility and ask some more questions before setting up an account with us.
Good. All right, any final advice for those concerned about preserving their wealth in uncertain economic times?
I think the number one thing is just to diversify, to make sure that you are protected from all angles. Diversify beyond the traditional financial system. Metals do offer, certainty in an uncertain world, whether it's a portion of your portfolio or your family's long-term legacy. Protecting your wealth with real assets stored securely is one of the smartest moves that you can make, and we're happy to tell you more and to welcome you to the SWP family.
Okay, Jeremy, thank you very much for all this very precious information about wealth preservation using precious metals. It was an absolute pleasure to learn all of this today. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you for watching the Steffi's Talk Show. I look forward to see you next Saturday. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye-bye.